And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza. And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to the intersection of business and politics right here on Robert Cardoza Live, where I do an honest, unbiased analysis of the issues confronting you today that affect the decisions that you're going to make for both your personal and your business life. I come to you every single Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time on Spreaker Radio, Blog Talk Radio, MyCast Live Radio, and countless terrestrial stations worldwide. I also broadcast on Roar 1776 Radio every single Friday evening from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube, where you can listen to all of my shows 24/7. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com for archives of all my radio and television shows. You can also access my show live right from my website each day simply by clicking on that little icon there on the right that's labeled Listen Live. Email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. That's where I get the emails I deal with here on the show. And you can call into my show if you want to comment or just engage me in conversation about anything. You can call directly into the studio at 646-652-2464. Again, that number, 646-652-2464. Now, on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation the IRS loses, and I'm going to answer your emails just like I always do. Now, today, my expert contributor is going to be David Garrett. He's going to be talking about the law and current events. My special guest, Sean Lefebvre, is continuing his series, Geared for Wellness. I can't hardly wait. They both got good stuff for us all the time. I want you to know that at 4:02 p.m. Pacific Time, it is currently 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Now, that's on its way down to 56 degrees. I can't wait till it gets down that extra 34 degrees. That's going to make a big difference in my life here. But in any event, normally right now we talk about the news. But, you know, I had somebody submit something to me, a good friend of mine, Rita Weisma, from Orange County, and she sent this to me, and I was so taken by it that I want to go ahead and take some of the time that we'd normally spend on the news to deal with this. And it's called the Lord's Prayer, and it's really, really important. You know, this was done by a 15-year-old school kid who got an A+ for this entry, and it's totally awesome. The Lord's Prayer is not allowed in most U.S. public schools anymore, and a kid in Minnesota wrote the following new school prayer. Now I sit me down in school, where praying is against the rule. For this great nation under God finds mention of him very odd. If Scripture now the class recites, it violates the Bill of Rights. And any time my head I bow, becomes a federal matter now. Our hair can be purple, orange, or green. That's no offense. It's a freedom scene. The law is specific, the law is precise. Prayers spoken aloud are a serious vice. For praying in a public hall might offend someone with no faith at all. In silence alone we must meditate. God's name is prohibited by the state. We're allowed to cuss and dress like freaks and pierce our noses, tongues, and cheeks. They've outlawed guns, but first the Bible. To quote the good book makes me liable. We can elect a pregnant senior queen and the unwed daddy, our senior king. It's inappropriate to teach right from wrong. We're taught that such judgments do not belong. We can get our condoms and birth controls, study witchcraft, vampires, and totem poles. But the 10 Commandments are not allowed. No word of God must reach this crowd. It's scary here, I must confess. When chaos reigns, the school's a mess. So, Lord, the silent plea I make, should I be shot, my soul, please take. Amen. Boy, I'm telling you, is that magnificent or what? I'm going to spread that around. Now, let's talk about the news for today. And first of all, I want to thank Rita for sending that to me. It was just absolutely magnificent. Now, the news today, we've encapsulated it so we can cover a lot of things, and we're going to try and get right into that for you. And you can talk to your friends, your neighbors, the people you work with, and they'll know that you know what's going on in the world. This just came in 2 hours ago. 6 Baltimore officers are charged in the Freddie Gray's death. Saying no one is above the law, Baltimore's top prosecutor announced charges today against 6 officers in the arrest of a black man whose neck was broken in public custody, a decision that comes amid outrage among the country over police brutality against African Americans. State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby declared that Freddie Gray's death was a homicide, his arrest was illegal, and his treatment amounted to murder and manslaughter. She detailed what happened to Gray during his arrest and his nearly 45-minute ride in a police wagon, contradicting what police have said on some points and shedding far more light on what happened during his fatal journey. Gray carried a legal pocket knife, she said, not the illegal switchblade that an officer described under penalty of perjury, and officers repeatedly denied Gray's request for medical attention, even when he said he couldn't breathe. At one point, he was shackled at the legs, handcuffed behind his back, and put back into the wagon on his stomach. At another stop, an officer spoke to me back of Mr. Gray's head, and even though he was unresponsive, made no effort to look or assess or determine his condition, Mosby said. The findings of our comprehensive, thorough, and independent investigation, coupled with the medical examiner's determination that Mr. Gray's death was a homicide, Mosby said, has led us to believe that we have probable cause to file criminal charges. Onlookers cheered, shouted justice during Mosby's announcement. Few expected such quick action. The city, which saw looting and businesses and cars burned on Monday, remains under nighttime curfew with National Guard troops and police out in full force and huge protests expected today and tomorrow. More than 200 people have been arrested and nearly 100 officers injured in the unrest following Gray's funeral. You know what? Maybe we'll get some justice. But you know what? Poor Freddie Gray isn't going to get any justice. What he got was a death penalty. Doesn't seem right for me. You know what? And when you think about what's going on with this case, here's the thing. The Baltimore court records show that 6 police officers charged in the death of Freddie Gray have had their initial bail review. Bail was actually set at $350,000 for 3 officers and $250,000 for the other 3. One of the officers faces a second-degree murder charge, and 4 face involuntary manslaughter charges. The most severe charge for the other 2 is assault. The bail proceeding are not open to the public under Maryland law. The records do not indicate that the officers have yet posted bail. Well, you know what? I think they ought to spend some time behind bars, too. Matter of fact, I think they ought to be able to go for a ride in a paddy wagon, don't you? Well, here's one for you. 3 former Christie allies charged in the bridge scandal. And I'm going to talk all about that when we come back from these brief messages. So don't go away. I'll tell you all about it. If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now,
they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking news, so let's get back to it. 3 former Christie allies charged in the bridge scandal. Federal prosecutors brought charges today against 3 former allies of Governor Chris Christie, but not Christie himself in the George Washington Bridge traffic scandal, apparently easing the legal threat that has hung over his 2016 White House ambitions for more than a year. One of those charged, David Wildstein, a former high-ranking official at the transportation agency that operates the bridge, pleaded guilty in a deal with prosecutors saying he and the other defendants engineered huge traffic jams to get even with a local politician. Christie was not implicated in court or in the indictments. Based on the evidence currently available to us, we're not going to charge anyone else in this scheme, U.S. Attorney Paul Fishman said at a news conference today. The Republican governor claimed vindication. Today's charges make clear that what I've said from day one is true. I had no knowledge or involvement in the planning or execution of this act, Christie said in a statement. Now, while Christie may be out of any immediate legal danger, politically it could be more complicated. The furor has already damaged his standing in the polls, and the charges put the scandal back in the news just as the presidential cycle is getting underway and candidates are jumping into the race. Well, you know what? Time will tell. That's what's going to happen here. But you know what? Should he be penalized? Do you think he's guilty? Do you think he had anything else to do with it? Do you think these 3 allies just fell on the sword for him? You know, who knows? Is that the way you do business in New Jersey? Well, I can tell you that's a yes, whether it's legal or not. Well, how about this? The Pentagon grapples with retaliation in sex assault cases. It's not against the law or military regulations to choose not to sit with someone in the dining hall or to unfriend them on Facebook. But in the traumatic aftermath of a sex assault, the victim could interpret those moves as retaliation. In these days, when a tweet or Instagram photo can be wielded as weapons, the Pentagon is struggling to define retaliation and rein in bullying or other behavior that victims perceive as vengeful. At the same time, military leaders are expanding efforts to better train their lower and mid-level commanders to detect and deal with retaliation, while also ensuring that other, more innocent actions are not misinterpreted by assault victims. Today, the Pentagon released a deeper analysis of the sexual assault survey data made public last December. That report acknowledges the difficulties in gathering data about retaliation, including problems with how some of the survey questions may have been misinterpreted and the incidents of retaliation may have been overcounted. It's a thorny problem for the military in the aftermath of a RAND study that concluded that about 60% of sexual assault victims believe they have faced retaliation from commanders or peers. Members of Congress are demanding swift steps to protect whistleblowers, including sexual assault victims who have been wronged as a result of their reports or complaints. You know what? And it just keeps going on and on and on. Are you as tired of it as I am? Golly gee. How about this? Nearly a week after the quake, Nepal still needs tents and food. Nearly a week after a massive earthquake killed more than 6,200 people and collapsed buildings, temples, and homes, Nepal still urgently needs basic aid like shelter and food, while remote villages remain cut off from help. Aid workers still face immense logistical challenges, the United Nations humanitarian chief Valerie Amos said today, noting that the scale of the devastation in Nepal would be an obstacle for any government. The UN has estimated the magnitude 7.8 quake that struck April 25th affected 8.1 million people, more than a fourth of Nepal's population of 27.8 million. In Kathmandu, rescue workers in orange jumpsuits continued to search throughout collapsed buildings, but fewer tents were standing in a central part of the capital that had been packed with people in the first few days. Some residents who have been fearful of aftershocks have left the city or moved elsewhere altogether. The government announced it was giving the equivalent of $1,000 to families for each person killed and another $400 for funeral costs, state-run Nepal Radio said today. More than 130,000 houses were destroyed in the quake, according to the UN Humanitarian Office. Near the epicenter, north of Kathmandu, whole villages were in ruins and residents were in desperate need of temporary shelters against the rain and cold. Isolated hamlets are still cut off because scarce helicopters can't land in some mountainous areas, and roads have often been destroyed, said Amos, who flew over some of those places during a 3-day visit. Of course, we are worried that it is taking so long to get to people who desperately need aid. Some of those villages are virtually flattened, but it's very, very hard to see how we're going to get to them, she said. Some villagers might be able to walk to a place where the aid helicopters could land, but that would be of little help to those who are injured, she added. You know what? It's sad. It's devastating. You just don't know what to think anymore. How about this? Came in today. Black mothers wonder if their lost babies are still alive. 18 black women who were told decades ago that their babies had died soon after birth at a St. Louis hospital now wonder if their infants were taken away by hospital officials to be raised by other families. The suspicions arose from a story of Zella Jackson Price, who said she was 26 in 1965 when she gave birth to Homer G. Phillips Hospital in St. Louis. Hours later, she was told that her daughter had died, but she never saw a body or a death certificate. No one is sure who was responsible. Price's daughter ended up in foster care only to resurface almost 50 years later. Melanie Gilmore, who now lives in Eugene, Oregon, has said that her foster parents always told her she was given up by her birth mother. Price's attorney, Albert Watkins, is asking city and state officials to investigate. In a letter to Governor Jay Nixon and St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay, Watkins said he expects the hospital coordinated a scheme to steal newborns of color from marketing and private adoption transactions. My God. Does it get any worse than that? Gilmore's children tracked recently down her birth mother to mark their mother's 50th birthday. The search led them to the now 76-year-old Price, who lives in suburban St. Louis. You know what? Doesn't it just make you want to weep? Boy, it does me. It's just sad. I just can't imagine that anybody or any business or any world would subject any human being to this kind of treatment and travesty. Now, don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to talk about the IRS loses its personal winners hotline today. In the first case, earned income credit is available, even if it's just for nieces. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses: website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show. Oh, yeah. My favorite part of the show, the IRS loses. And today we could call it Personal Winners Hotline. First up, the IRS loses. Earned income credit, they call that EIC, is available for nieces. Now, Matthew Gilmore was 19 years old and lived in an apartment with his mother, 3 sisters, and 2 children of one of his sisters. Now, he had a job, helped support the family, and cared for his nieces, for whom he claimed an earned income credit. But the IRS denied the credit. He went to court, and this is what the judge said. To qualify Matthew for the earned income credit, the children must meet age, residence, and relationship tests. As minors who lived with him, they met the first 2. As nieces, they met the relationship test if he cared for them as his own children. Here's the ruling. As the oldest male of the family who both cared for and worked to support them, he did so and thus gets the earned income credit. Now, just in case you think that's something small, in this particular case, it came up to almost $5,000. A big deal, you know, when you're struggling to help a family and to help your own. I think that's the right way to go. How about this? The IRS loses. Payments to teachers who give up tenure are not subject to self-employment tax. Here's the case. Now, under an early retirement program, teachers in a school district gave up their tenure rights to employment in exchange for cash payments. Now, the IRS said the payments were actually earned through employment and thus subject to employment tax, which it had the district withhold.
The teachers sued for refunds. They went to court. This is what the judge said. When an at-will employee who can be dismissed at any time is given a severance bonus, it is taxable wages. But here, payment was made in exchange for the surrender of valuable legal rights, not in exchange for labor. So, the payments were not wages, and refunds were granted to all of them, including interest for the money they didn't have for the time that they didn't have use of it. How about this? The IRS loses and was told of a new address. Get this one. Thomas Hunter moved and filed an IRS power of attorney, we call that a POA form, that told the IRS to send copies of all of his tax notices to his accountant and gave his new address. But the IRS sent a deficiency notice only to his old address. Hunter said he never received it, so it was invalid. The IRS answered that Hunter had never filed an IRS Form 8822 change of address form, and general correspondence sent to it containing a new address does not serve as one, so the notice was invalid. So he went off to court, and this is what the judge said. A power of attorney is not general correspondence and has been held many times by the courts to notify the IRS of a change of address, often at the IRS's own insistence. So the notice is absolutely valid. Yep. Now, you've heard me say it many times. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing things? Absolutely you would. But you know what? I want to start this section off with a segment that is going to, I hope that you'll feel is really interesting, because I know that I certainly did. And that is, how good is the IRS at answering tax questions? You ever wonder about that? Well, get this one. To find out, auditors from the Office of the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, we call that TICTA, posed as taxpayers and visited IRS taxpayer assistance centers across the United States in September and October of last year. Now, and they did that to ask questions taxpayers would normally ask. Here's the results. The IRS taxpayer assistance personnel correctly answered 72% of the questions, which means that 28% they got wrong, right? Now, they also gave wrong answers to 20% of the questions. So I'm not sure where that other 8% came in involved here. Then they referred the questioner to IRS publications and advised the questioner to do his or her own research for 3% of the questions. Now we're starting to get into it, right? And then they denied service for 2% of the questions. This is unconscionable. And get this, they correctly offered to prepare a written referral to call the IRS toll-free telephone line for more information for 3% of the questions. Well, obviously, you can't trust the IRS to even answer your questions properly. Now, let's talk about leasing versus buying equipment for your business. You know, even though a transaction is structured as a lease, the IRS may take a position that you really purchased the asset. Here's the consequence. Instead of deducting the entire monthly lease payments, you're going to be required to depreciate the cost of the asset using IRS guidelines. Now, the IRS is generally going to challenge a leasing transaction if you're able to purchase the equipment for a nominal fee at the end of the lease. So here's a strategy for you. Always ask your accountant to help structure the lease to make sure that it'll survive that IRS challenge. You know, it's not so difficult. It's an easy thing to do. You just need to have a knowledgeable person do it for you. Let's try this one. When a tax return is fraudulently prepared, the accountant who prepared the tax return may be susceptible to pressure from the IRS agent who discovers that he or she helped the taxpayer coordinate a transaction that resulted in tax evasion. Let me give you an example there. The accountant advised the taxpayer that business deposits made into a checking account should be classified as loan payments to avoid reflecting them as income on the tax return. Now, when faced with going to jail, the accountant will likely tell the IRS agent everything he wants to hear. The self-defense here? When a tax return was fraudulently prepared, the accountant who prepared it should never, represent the taxpayer before the IRS. The taxpayer should hire an experienced tax attorney who will be able to rely on attorney-client privilege to avoid providing incriminating information to the IRS. You know what? If I've never if I've never convinced you to do anything else, I hope I've convinced you to do that. Now, do not go away. Waiting in the wings is our own Sean LaFave with his Geared for Wellness service. We'll be right back with Sean right after these brief messages, so don't go away. Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean LaFave and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Set Up My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Set Up My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training, we are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmycell.com and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:33 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently 90 degrees, down from 97 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire, on its way to 61 degrees in sunny Southern California. Well, boy, it's exciting. Let's wait for it. Let's get it in here. Let's do it now. Gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean LaFave, in his Geared for Wellness Corner. Hey, Sean, welcome aboard. Good to have you here. 2 days in a row. I can't believe it. I'm going through withdrawals here.
Well, it's good to be back a day in a row, or a second day in a row. So, absolutely, Robert. I love being here.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's so cool when you're here because we can deal with so many different things. I love people that are articulate in a number of different areas, a number of different ways, and also I love to be able to talk to people who understand that there are always opposing points of view and don't take offense at it. They just understand that people have a different point of view. That's who you are. You actually allow people to believe what they want to believe, whether they agree with you or not. And it's unfortunate those people that agree with you are mostly wrong, but except the exception being me. But in having said that, I think that today we're going to talk about GMOs and we're going to be talking about organics and things like that, or am I off base here somewhere?
No, I think you're right on base. I actually, and you're right. I love people who disagree with me because if everybody agreed with me, I wouldn't have anything to talk about. So it's I have tons of friends that don't agree with half the things I do, and so it definitely keeps it interesting. But yeah, today we're going to talk about some GMOs, and I'm actually going to get to the point that I was trying to make yesterday when we got totally sidetracked with the GMOs and the organic stuff. So
we got sidetracked. You and I got sidetracked.
Yeah, I know. Go figure. What are the odds of that, right?
Yeah.
But no, so we were talking, of course, at the beginning of the show, we started out talking about orthorexia nervosa, this mental disorder, as they like to call it, of people who are...
Sounds like a venereal disease.
Yeah, it does. And, I love this. It's funny because it's been around since '96 when it was first coined as a phrase. And it's really kind of gained a little bit of a foothold recently, and I have my suspicions why, but I'm not sure. I can only speculate on a lot of things, but it's been in CNN and Popular Science, and a lot of these new outlets or the mainstream media outlets have kind of mentioned it here and there a little bit more. And I love this one quote, and I believe this is from CNN. I could be wrong, but it says orthorexia nervosa is a label designated to those who are concerned about eating healthy, characterized by disordered eating fueled by a desire for clean or healthy foods. Those diagnosed with the condition are overly preoccupied with the nutritional makeup of what they eat. And of course, we talked about that yesterday, about really what orthorexia nervosa, kind of a cousin to anorexia nervosa, really is all about. But for me, I look at it, and I know that when I talk to people, that sometimes people look at me like I have three heads. Like, really, where are you coming up with this stuff? And I'm not really a conspiracy theorist by nature, but when you start to read stuff and you start to look at it and kind of break things down with a little bit of logic and a little bit of common sense, the numbers start to add up, and you go, gosh, this doesn't make any sense. Why would something as ridiculous as this hit mainstream media? And the only thing I can think of is, like I said yesterday, it's the doctor who coined this phrase says that there's power in giving something a name, and I think that power can be used for good and it can be used for bad. Giving something a name really does give it power. And imagine, right now there's a lot of controversy going on back and forth with GMOs, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And all the organic movement and really getting back to a more natural state of eating our food. But imagine, Monsanto and DuPont and, Starbucks even is involved in this whole deal. The grocery marketers of America, they're all involved in these lawsuits. And imagine if you can take someone who is concerned with having healthier foods, clean foods, stuff that is non-GMO, that is not poisoned by things like pesticides and all these other chemicals, artificial fertilizers. If you can give them a label that gives them a mental disorder, imagine what that would do in a court hearing. Now, I don't know if in fact that's where this is going, but I can just see it moving in that direction. It certainly would help someone like Monsanto to go, this guy, look at him, doctor, or look at him, judge. You got a doctor who's standing up and he's going, look, this guy's got a mental disorder. Here's the symptoms that go along with it. And if they could classify that, it could really give them, a lot of leverage over these court cases that they're dealing with right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. The one thing that you're saying that is absolutely valid, and that is that when you give something a name, you give it legitimacy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's huge, and I don't know. Like I said, I ran across this, earlier this week, and that's why I think we started talking about it yesterday. But it just really hit me. Like, why would this be something that needs to hit mainstream media? And of course, doctors aren't really going to grab a hold of something if they can't make money off of it. The mainstream media isn't going to grab a hold of something if they can't make money off of it. Nobody's really going to pay any attention to something like orthorexia nervosa if there's not money to be made. Of course, there's a phobia out there, and I can't, it's a really long, ridiculous name that I can never remember. I've literally read it probably 50 times, and I can still never remember it.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal.
Hey, you know what? I don't know how the hell that happened. That's not the one I wanted to have go. Let's try this one instead.
I'm back. I think we're coming to a commercial break, but there's a phobia that is the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. Now, of course, a rational person would go, well, don't stick peanut butter in your mouth, and you don't really have to worry about it. But there is actually a drug that is specifically made for the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. So really, you give a name to something, you can make money off of it. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about GMOs and why I think this movement and giving names to things like this are really crucial in what's going on with our diets and just eating in general in our culture.
Well, I've got to tell you, Sean, when my daughter Tiffany was 2 years old, which is she's 42 now, she actually came up with the solution to how you keep a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from sticking to the top of your mouth. You just simply turn it over. You just turn it over.
Put the jelly side up.
Yeah. So here we've been talking to our own Sean Lefebvre and his Good for Wellness group. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more words of wisdom from Sean. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group, no mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave, our healthcare guru. And you know what? We've been talking about. Yep, we've been talking about medical gobbledygook, and he's going to clear out all of this kind of stuff and tell you, there's only so much that you can get out of a name. Sean, you've got the microphone.
All right. Well, there is power in a name, and I'll start out this segment by saying, I'm never really here to convince anybody to think. To think my way specifically. Like you said.
Well, no, because they're entitled to be wrong, right?
Right, exactly. They're totally entitled to be wrong, exactly. But what I always want is for someone to think maybe a little differently, or at least think about the choices they made that if they haven't already been thinking about that. That's the biggest thing for me is give some thought about it's the food that you're putting in your mouth. Matter of fact, gosh, what was I reading? It's I think it was that the doctor that kind of coins that orthorexia nervosa. What was the last thing he said? Basically,
this is the guy you call the quack.
He said, yeah, the guy that I call the quack. He said, basically, food is just something that you put in your mouth. Is basically what it boils down to. That it's not about nutrition. It's not about the chemicals that are in it. The food is just this thing that you put in your mouth, and it's nothing more, nothing less. And I think that's such a misnomer and really very misleading to have that kind of attitude. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have that attitude. Food is just something you put in your mouth. And it amazes me. I talk to people.
Well, would you agree that food is the fuel for your mind, soul, and a healthy body?
Right, exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's fuel for everything you do. It gives you energy to go about your day. It gives you nutrition to heal the cells. Your body is constantly going through a process of, cells die off. We have to build up new cells. The brain has to function, and all of that comes from what we eat. And so it's much more than just what we put in our mouth. And sometimes, people, they like the McDonald's French fry. This is a conversation I can't believe I've had several times. That people go, well, why is a McDonald's French fry so bad for you? All it is potatoes and vegetable oil. And a potato is just a vegetable, and vegetable oil, we've been told, is good and healthy for us. And the fact is, it's so much more. I think there's 17 ingredients that go into a McDonald's French fry.
You're joking.
No.
You mean it's really not a deep fried potato strip in vegetable oil with a little bit of salt on it?
Nope, and that's what you get. Like, say you go to In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger is one of the places that I'll actually go. If I want to get a burger and then some fries, and I want to kind of spoil myself with a fast food type meal, I'll actually go there because In-N-Out, they don't even have freezers in their restaurants. Everything is delivered to them fresh, and if they don't cook it, if it expires, they throw it out. They don't even freeze anything, but you can actually watch them take the potato and slice it and drop it into the fryer, throw it out of the fryer, put salt on it, and then put it in a little container that they give it to you to eat. Now, McDonald's, what they do is they take the potatoes, they boil them, and then they mash them up. They turn them into mashed potatoes, and they mix with them everything from vegetable oil to like even hydrogenated oils, sodium, monosodium glutamate. There's preservatives in there. There's a lot of like kind of chemical stuff. There's flavor additives, and like I said, there's 17 ingredients. And what they do is then they mix it all together and they freeze it into a block. And then once it's frozen, they slice it up into the shape of a French fry, and then they fry it. They deep fry it in, again, vegetable oil that is typically a trans fat. It's a hydrogenated oil.
Oh, I didn't know that. But let me ask you kind of a non-related question, and I don't know why it just popped up into my mind because we were talking about the fats, which to me I was thinking about carbohydrates. What's the true story about these beta blockers that they sell in these health food stores? These things that are supposedly block the fat from getting into your system, and it kind of just shoves it right through your body. Is there any reality or truth to that?
I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. I've never actually researched them. I've seen them, and my thought is they work. It's not something I would want to put in my body because your body needs fat. It needs good fat, and if something is going to block fat, it's probably going to block the good fat as well as the bad fat. And so if they do work, it's not something I would want. If they don't work, then it's definitely something I don't want anyway. So I never really put a lot of research into them. I've heard of them and I've seen them, but I don't know anything about them. But I know that the concept of taking something that's going to prevent your body from absorbing fat is just not a good idea, because fat is so crucial. You know, your cells, every cell in your body has a lipid bilayer, and it's made up of fat. It's actually cholesterol and saturated fat primarily, and so you need that in order for your cells to function properly. It's why
your recommendation for a healthy diet is organic and moderation, right?
Absolutely, yeah, totally organic and whole foods. There's nothing wrong with saturated fat. There's nothing wrong with cholesterol. Cholesterol, matter of fact, I don't know how cholesterol became this villain that it's become, because it is actually an anti-inflammatory. When your body produces cholesterol, it produces it to try to reduce some sort of inflammatory process that you've got going on. And so if you have high cholesterol, the thing to do is not actually stop the cholesterol production, which is what the drugs do, because they've proven that when you take a cholesterol-lowering drug, it doesn't actually prevent heart disease. It just lowers cholesterol. That's all it does. Well, what happens now is you've got this inflammatory process that's going on, and now you're not letting the cholesterol do its job to reduce the inflammation. So what really needs to be addressed is not the cholesterol itself, but the actual inflammation. It's like I heard, I think it was Dr. Dan Pompa that used this analogy, and I love it. Imagine if you were driving by a house and you saw a house on fire, and you'd never seen a house fire before, and you'd never seen a fireman before, and you saw these guys out there, and they're wearing their fireman's suits, and there's a fireman's truck and all this stuff, and you see this, you go, wow, that's a strange sight, and all of a sudden you see it maybe another one, another time, and then a third time you see it, and you go, oh my gosh, there's these guys running around in these suits, and they're burning down houses. That's kind of the analogy that he uses. When you don't really understand what's going on, you look at it and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, we've got to get rid of this cholesterol because it's creating heart disease. Well, that's not actually the case. The case with cholesterol, and there's different types. There's LDL, there's HDL, and even the LDL has subparts to that the particle size and on, and it's actually a lot more complex than just two pieces of cholesterol. But really the thing to address is what's causing the inflammation. So, the firemen are there to put out the fire. They're not there to create the fire. But if you don't know that, it would look like they're there to burn houses down. So
right.
So anyway, it's just a way, and again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's just a way of learning how to think about what's going on around you. Why is this happening to my body? There's something going on, whether it's an inflammatory process, it's a blood sugar process, it's something that's going on that I need to address. And really the question is, why is it there, and what do I need to do to fix it? And it's just a different way of thinking, instead of just simply thinking I shove food in my mouth and that's good enough. So right. I think we're going to break, right?
Yep, we're going right now. We've been talking to our own Sean LaFay with his Geared for Wellness Corner. I want you to know that last night my wife came home and said, Bob, did you hear about Dr. Oz and the trouble he's in for promoting all this stuff? And I said, not only did I hear about it, Marlene, but if you'd listened to your husband's show, you'd have heard Sean LaFay talk about it 6 weeks ago, and you wouldn't be so surprised. Now, I'm telling you folks out there that are listening today, do not go away, because Sean's going to be right back with some more words of wisdom. You're not going to want to miss them, or you might be 6 weeks late. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. Hold on to your hat, because... No, we're not talking about the Kentucky Derby, but if you want to be the first person out of the gate and you want to know what's really going on in the world today when it comes to healthcare, you need to be listening to our own Sean LaFave. It is Geared for Wellness Corner. Sean, you got the microphone.
All right. So, all that stuff we talked about, just in the last segment here, I kind of wanted to follow it up with, we wanted to get on the GMO issue here. And again, I know I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I'll kind of recap. GMO stands for genetically modified organism, and it's basically something that has been genetically modified, usually for the sake of growing more crops. I've never seen a food that was genetically modified simply to make it more nutritious for us. That's just not something I've ever seen. And typically, when you look at genetically modified foods, it's so that they can withstand the pesticides that are sprayed on them, specifically Roundup, which is the glyphosate that's in Roundup that's put out by Monsanto. And of course,
so let me ask you, isn't Roundup for plants or anything green? Isn't that a systemic product that gets absorbed? And so if it's going in through the stems and getting into the fruits and vegetables, aren't we eating that stuff?
And that's exactly the problem with the GMOs, and is what they've done is and the 2 biggest ones are corn and soy. And if you walk around the grocery store and look at all the packaged foods, 2/3 of all packaged foods in this country have corn and or soy in them. It's huge. Corn and soy is everywhere. And so what they've done is they've created these genetically modified versions of these foods that are resistant to the glyphosate, to the Roundup pesticide. So you can just spray the hell out of your fields. They can actually, initially their thought was, well, it makes it more efficient. You don't have to use as much. But what's happened in essence, is they've used more of the pesticide, of the herbicide in this case, to kill off all the weeds and all the, the extra, plants that are growing around the corn or soy that they're growing. And this stuff is resistant to it. And like you said, it absorbs into the plant, it gets on the plant, it gets into the plant, and now we're consuming a product that is laden with glyphosate. Matter of fact, the CEO, I can't think of his name, not too long ago, he was in an interview, and he said, this stuff is so safe you could drink a gallon of it and it wouldn't do anything to you. And they actually called him on it. They said, hey, we've got some here. Why don't you drink it and prove it for everybody? And he just kind of laughed about it. He's like, yeah, whatever. And they said, no, really, here, drink some. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. And so, clearly this stuff is dangerous. And matter of fact, the thing that a lot of us are fighting for, a lot of people are fighting for, is we want the labeling of the GMOs to be on the product itself, that we know that we're eating GMO, because I go and I buy something, I don't know if it's GMO because it doesn't have to be labeled. And that's what we were talking about yesterday. And Vermont last year passed a measure it was like a huge spread. It was 28-2 that's going to require labeling of GMO foods. And of course, Monsanto, along with other corporations, went in to sue Vermont because they don't want labeling of GMOs. And of course, the reason why they don't want it is they realize, as one of the executives for Monsanto, he said this years ago, he said, if you put a label on genetically engineered food, you might as well put a skull and crossbones on it, because he knows that people get it. We kind of want to be blind to it as a culture. People don't want to see what they're doing to themselves, even though they know it's wrong. If I can somehow remove my own personal responsibility from what's happening by looking at the box and saying, well, it's just corn, or it's just soy, or it's just whatever, and it doesn't say genetically modified, then that kind of relieves me of my responsibility for what I'm doing to myself as a person, stuffing my face with stuff that is literally poisonous to me. And so I think
basically it's a con job, right? Basically it's just a con job.
It's a massive con job. And unfortunately it happened here in California. Was it 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. We had a measure to it was voted on by the people to require the labeling of genetically modified foods, and it was defeated by the people of California, which everyone thinks California, they think, oh my gosh, healthy, conscious people who want to know what they're putting in their body, and we voted against labeling GMOs because of the massive campaign. Of course, the number one contributor was Monsanto, and they contributed over $13 million to the campaign to fight
to defeat that
GMOs, because they know why. If GMOs are perfectly healthy, perfectly fine and safe for us, why would they fight to put that label on there? If it was something that was good, you'd think you'd want it on the label. And the people who are growing organic, which by the way, we talked about organic yesterday, and I did look it up, and oh my gosh, the definition of organic and the chemicals that are allowed and the ones that aren't allowed, it's a very, very long list. It's ridiculous how long it is. But GMO is actually not allowed. So anything that's GMO is not allowed to be labeled organic. But if you look at the list of companies, Monsanto, DuPont, Pepsi, Coke, Nestle, it goes on to millions. It literally gets into the tens, probably $100 million spent on a campaign here in California. And they won. Why did they win? Because what they're doing is poisoning us, and that's really where people need to stop and think about what they're putting in their mouths.
So when you go to a Whole Foods market that supposedly has all this health food, would I be correct in assuming that they have nothing with GMOs there? Or at least it's all organic?
Unfortunately, that's not true. It's not all organic. It's not all GMO. It's better on average than the grocery store, but you still have to be careful what you buy there.
Gotcha. Well, my friend, fascinating day today and yesterday. You just keep coming up with more and more stuff. You're a very knowledgeable, articulate young man. I just love having you on. You have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay happy, and we'll talk to you next week, huh?
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. See you next week.
All right. Thank you. Now, everybody, don't go away. We're going to go for a commercial message because I got to pay some bills. But when we come back, we'll be talking to our own David Garrett, who's going to be talking about the law and current events. And somehow I think maybe Freddie Gray may be coming up. If not, I'll be bringing it up because I've got some questions for David about that. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean Lefebvre and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Set Up My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Set Up My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training, we are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmycell.com and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:08 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently, good Lord, 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. But it's going to go down to 63, but I'll bet you I'll be sound asleep by the time it gets to there. And anyway, waiting in the wings, the man who is going to talk to us about the legal aspects of what's going on in current events today and a lot of things that we think about and don't think about and should think about. It's our own David Garrett on the law. Let's get him in.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the bowels of the Hall of Justice, our own legal guru, David Garrett, attorney at law.
Hey, David, welcome aboard. If it's David Garrett, it must be Friday.
Yeah, and I'm getting ready to go fishing tomorrow.
Well, may all your hooks be hooked and sharp.
Well, thank you. Boy, I'm going to try not to throw a blank hook out there, but.
Well, you know what? I understand that when you go out there fishing like that, and you pay for these wonderful boats that take you out to Catalina Island and all these different places, that they actually bait the hooks for you, or do you have to do it yourself?
No, I must be doing the low rent district because they make me grab the little sardines and put them on there and toss them out. So.
Well, you're actually lucky because if it was the other way around, in order to become a journeyman on one of those fishing boats, you have to become a masturbator, I think.
Oh, there you go. No, that was good.
Sorry about that, Dave. It was a bad joke. So what's
Very
going
good.
on? What's going on in the world of law today?
Well, I mean, there's a ton of things to talk about in the world of law here, but I ran into something kind of interesting that I thought we'd chat about, and it involves the ACLU of California. So, what they've come out with is an app designed for videotaping the police.
An app?
Yeah,
Really?
you run on your smartphone.
Okay, I can't hardly wait to hear about this one.
Yeah. So with all these videotapes that are popping up all over, I guess the ACLU decided to get involved. And what they have is this application. You put it on your phone and open that app and hit the button, and it starts recording. And it'll do the recording for however long you want, but then at the end of the recording, you hit the button, and then all on its own with no user interaction, it uploads the video to the ACLU's website and gives you an opportunity to come back with a little message and describe what it is. You don't have to do that, but that videotape's going to go over to their website.
So they have access and use of it, right?
Right. Their theory is that the videotaper, whoever's man on the phone, maintains ownership of the videotape, but the ACLU, if they use your app, maintains a right to use the videotape for non-profit purposes and for distribution that way. It's kind of an interesting concept.
What happens if I'm walking down the street? I've got this app, okay? I'm walking down the street and I see some guy getting abused by the police, and I hit that app and I start that thing going, and I'm actually talking while it's happening, describing what's going on. I'm guessing it has that kind of capability. And then I'm all done, and I turn the app off. It goes over to the ACLU, but I don't do anything. I just after this incident is over, I just walk on home, right?
Right.
Now the ACLU gets it. Do they actually review these things and look at them to see what they have, and do they then decide that they may or may not make an issue out of this and publicize it?
Well, I think that's the theory. They could. What it says is, under the app's user terms, the organization will be able to distribute the footage for nonprofit use, including making the recording public. So they could, post it out there as long as they're not charging money for it. They're probably okay. I suspect that if it showed something really egregious, you might get a call from the ACLU, because they claim to have staff attorneys reviewing the videotapes after they're submitted. And their idea is that they'll keep the videotape and it's on site there. And I think the problem that they're trying to correct by this application is the idea of the police confiscating individuals' telephones.
Oh, I hadn't even thought. That's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah. So there's multiple copies floating around. One's at the ACLU, and since you're the owner, you can get it. If the police takes your phone, your video doesn't disappear.
You know what? And what would have happened in Maryland if those cops actually had the cop cameras? I mean, wouldn't that have answered an awful lot of questions a long time ago?
Oh, you bet it would. Yeah. I mean, if they had those, the difficulty being that the evidence that's collected is turned over to the police, and I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to get that evidence out of the police initially.
Yeah.
At some point it'll be disclosed in criminal proceedings. So, like where they're charged now, the attorney defending the officers could ask for a copy of recorders, and that's the most likely way the videotape would get out, unless some news organization went into court and sought an ordered compelling disclosure of it.
So that actually supersedes all of that, keeps you out of trouble, also preserves what you've actually created, right?
Right.
You know, and I don't. So the cops can go ahead and confiscate it if they want to, but that's not going to keep it from getting before the public.
Exactly, because and the ACLU has the copy, so they take the phone. Well, there's another copy out there. Yeah. I think that's the idea of what this is. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Give out your contact information. We've got to go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
Sure. The telephone number is 909-945-5000, and our website is www.lawbbg.com.
And we've been talking to our own David Garrett on the law. When we come back, we're going to talk some more about it. We've been talking about this app that the ACLU has out that you can put on your cell phone. What we didn't talk about is if they offer that for free or not, and I guess they do. And it sounds like a great idea. We'll come right back and talk to David about that right after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're talking to our own legal guru, David Garrett. We're talking about the ACLU, a new app they have for your smartphone so you can actually take pictures and it automatically goes to them. We're talking about an expectation of privacy. We're talking about complaints that the police might have. We're talking about all those things. You know what? And what do you think? Yeah, there are always going to be those pundits against it because they have to be against something. But boy, this just sort of makes some sense to me. David, you got the air.
Yeah, it's kind of a very interesting situation here, and there's a number of people that are critical of this app. The idea being that it's okay to film the police doing what they're doing, and I believe that it's okay regardless of who is involved, as long as you're out there in the public doing it. But let's say you got some guy that's drunk in public, and he's just making a complete jerk of himself, and the officer takes him down, doesn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But this videotape gets taken of this private individual just completely making a moron of himself, and it gets sent to the ACLU and somehow or another gets distributed. One of the arguments against this process is the idea of the app not protecting the rights of this individual to be a moron in public, and then holding him up for public humiliation by potentially that videotape getting out there.
But didn't he do that to himself when he became a public spectacle under the influence? He was already out in front of the public, already embarrassing himself and everyone else. Didn't he already cause that problem?
Yeah, and that's the way I look at it. I point out to you that there's those on the other side of the street that seem to think that something should be done to protect morons from themselves, for lack of a better word.
But the interesting thing is that's exactly what you would expect the ACLU to be doing. That's the position you would expect them to take, and yet they're on the other side of the ballpark here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It kind of puts them in a quandary, and their idea though is that the First Amendment right to videotape supersedes this individual's right to not be blasted all over YouTube and the internet being a moron.
So when you're looking at your constitutional rights, how does one constitutional amendment trump another?
It's kind of a weighing, balancing concept.
Mm-hmm.
The First Amendment's pretty sacrosanct, and the right of privacy. You get back to that idea. Does the individual there have a realistic expectation of privacy? If he's out on the street and being a complete moron,
yeah, he's
there
already
really
out
isn't
there.
any right of
Yeah, he's already out there for millions of people or hundreds of people, whichever the case, or even a few people. He's already out there doing it to himself in public view. He kind of set up his own release of making that available by actually doing that in public.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. I think that's how the courts would ever come down, and I think the ACLU, got this one right on that issue.
Yeah.
It's just kind of an interesting idea. But, to segue from this into, I don't know if you saw this on TV last night, but there's this woman in South LA, and she lives next to a guy who calls the police out because his house is being vandals are doing something to his house. Well, they get out there to the house, and not much going on. But then she hears glass breaking, and hears the cops screaming and yelling, and then they're doing something to the individual that called him, and that led to him being hit with a taser. Well,
the owner of the place.
Yeah, the owner that called him. So the next door neighbor, hearing all this, decides she was going to go out and videotape, what the police are doing. She doesn't think it's right. What the video shows is the officer's out there, and she's got her little camera or little phone in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
She walks up to where the police are. A female police officer says to her, that out of my face, and immediately followed by a male police officer grabbing her, and he takes her down on the ground, and it's not a nice takedown. I mean, he just blasts her right down to the ground without saying any further word to her. And the question becomes, why did they have a right to do that for her simply videotaping the incident?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, it's
she wasn't interfering. She wasn't trying to stop them, right?
No, not, and that gets to, kind of raises the question: when can you videotape, and when are you prohibited from doing it?
Well, David, if the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department and all the departments across the country now are going to be putting cameras on their officers, doesn't that pretty much say that if the officers are taking pictures of everything, that you ought to be able to too?
Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah, absolutely. I think the state of the law here is that as long as you don't interfere or delay, get involved in the procedure where you shouldn't, you have an absolute First Amendment right to videotape what's going on out there. Yeah. So it comes up being kind of an interesting question, and
I would think that the only reason the police don't want it videotaped is because they think they're doing something wrong and they don't want a record of it.
Right. Exactly. I'll contrast this story with this lady with another one here in just a minute that involved a photographer. And
that sounds great. That sounds great. We've been talking to our own David Garrett on the law. You can reach David at his office at area code 909-945-5000. And what's that website again, David?
It's www.lawbbg.com.
And we'll be right back with David Garrett on the law. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses: website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Dental Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Dang, it's still 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. But you know what? We're talking to our own David Garrett on the law. David, you've got the microphone.
Okay. Yeah, we just finished the real brief story about that lady that comes up and shoves her camera in the face of an officer. Now, to distinguish that, there's another case out there where a photographer is actually 90 feet away from where the investigation is taking place. And the officer sees him out there running the video camera and comes up, apparently not liking the fact that it's being recorded, and arrests him for interfering with a police investigation.
From 90 feet away?
From 90 feet away. I think this case is probably still involved in a civil lawsuit of some sort, but they lock him up, take him down to the station. His attorney shows up, and he's released about an hour and a half later. So, but the reason I bring that up is it's, this idea of interfering with police is kind of a nebulous standard to define. I think in the case of the photographer, it's real clear he's not interfering with anything. I mean, he's so far away he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it makes you feel almost you're interfering with the police when they decide you're interfering with them, even though you may not be doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. In the case of this lady that I mentioned, the way the police handle it is absolutely abysmal. But she was close enough to where she's shining it looked like an iPhone, how they've got that light that it puts out when you're recording. She's close enough to where the lady says to her, "Get that out of my face." As I looked at the video, she was probably within 2 or 3 feet. That probably wasn't the smartest place to be either.
No, I could actually see that as an interference. If that light is interfering with them doing their duty and whatever they're supposed to, whether they're right or they're wrong, but they're doing whatever they're doing, that light could be an interference with them doing their duty as a police officer, whether they're right or wrong in what they're doing. I don't think you should be 2 feet away pointing a light in their eyes.
No, that's not going to work. It doesn't justify what happened afterwards, but she arguably could have been interfering. There's some other ideas that I think that if you decide to videotape the police, not you, Bob, but anybody out there listening, it probably isn't a good idea to sit there with your camera and get so close and then start peppering the officers with a bunch of questions.
I think it's pretty stupid if you ask me. First of all, I'd be scared to death I'd get shot. Second of all, I would think that what the police officer really should do, even though they're probably busy taking care of what they're taking care of, they ought to just take the damn camera away from me and say, you know what, stand back, and I'll talk to you later. And if you don't get back, you can get on the ground with this person.
Yeah, just join them. We got extra room down there.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at this videotaping and interfering and all those arguments, it's kind of up to the person behind the camera to use a little bit of common sense.
Yeah,
if you're doing something. Go ahead.
to a certain extent, some people, I think, have gone haywire when it comes to these video things, especially if you think you're going to go out and videotape police action at 2 feet away. You don't belong there. You are interfering. You're in their space. Now, a different situation with the guy, and I can't think of the guy's name anymore, unfortunately, but the guy that was probably 30 feet away and outside a fenced area, videotaping that the guy that got shot 8 times or 5 times, whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
You know, that guy wasn't interfering with anything. He was a good distance away. He was on the other side of a fence. That's one thing. But because there is so much notoriety going on with these videotapes today, and people get the wrong impression that they seem to have some kind of right to turn their cameras on and get in these cops' faces, what's going to happen is they're going to get hurt, and perhaps badly.
Yes, and I agree with you. And I think it's the sensationalism that these videos kind of generate. I mean, they're on the TV 24/7. Every commercial for every news you see part of the video again. And I think people are fascinated with the concept of, I took the video.
Yeah.
And they almost get to that level of paparazzi status going around. Well, we know how that works out.
Yeah, it's a credit thing, and they're hoping maybe they can sell it to one of the local networks, and make some money on it, I think.
Yeah, and they just don't have the common sense to say, hey, I can do this, but I don't have to be right in the middle of the takedown when I'm doing it.
Yeah, you know what? Most of the smartphones today, they have a zoom feature on their cameras. You don't have to get that close.
No. So I think that's the rule, Bob, is videotapes, great idea, but use common sense when you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? If you're not using common sense and you do something stupid, you're going to need some defense. And you know what? You want to go to David Garrett, call him at 909-945-5000. How's that for a segue? Give him your website, David.
It's www.lawbbg.com.
Hey, David, this is a terrific show. I appreciate it very much. I'll get a copy of it off to you in the morning. And, this is great. You have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe, and catch lots of fish.
Hey, I'll do it, and you do the same, Bob.
All right, buddy. Have a good weekend. Take care.
Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean Lefebvre and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Set Up My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Set Up My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training, we are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmycell.com and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:40 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's supposed to be going down to 62. Actually, it said it was going to get down to 58 earlier. I don't know why they changed their minds. But anyway, you know what today is? Today is May the 1st. It's May Day, and it's somebody's birthday. And born in 1962, general manager of the Denver Broncos. Happy birthday, Ted Sundquist. And you know what? This guy was born in 1967. He's a singer with album sales in excess of 40 million units. Married to country singer Faith Hill. Lucky man. Happy birthday, Tim McGraw. And Wes Anderson, born in 1969. Film director, screenwriter, actor, and producer, nominated for an Academy Award for the Royal Tenenbaums. Well, you know what? May 1st, 1951 in history, Mickey Mantle's very first home run. Can you imagine that? Wow. And on May 1st, 1951, Minnie Minoso becomes the first black to play for the White Sox. In 1952, Mr. Potato Head was introduced to the world. Yep. You know what? For some reason, I don't know why I thought it was before that, but I guess that makes sense, doesn't it? Well, here's one for you. In 1967, May the 1st, 1967, May Day, Elvis Presley and Priscilla Beaulieu got married in Las Vegas, Nevada. And finally, on May the 1st, in 2003, President George W. Bush declares that major combat operations in Iraq are over. There you go. Well, the quote for today comes from the Dalai Lama, and he says, if you can help others, if you cannot do that, at least do not harm them. There you go. That's profound. I think that's reasonable if you think about it. Now, let's talk about the secret daily teachings for your life. You've heard me say it many times. You make this your own. You live it, you breathe it, you walk it, you talk it. If you do this, you're going to create this positive mental attitude that you have to be successful in life, in everything you ever wanted or desired, and everybody's life that you touched will be better for it as well. Today's secret: every night before you go to sleep, give sincere thanks for the day. Then intend your next day to be joyous, effortless, and wonderful. On waking in the morning, confirm your intention that your day will be magnificent. As you're creating every one of your days, if you don't intend your days in advance, then you are handing it over to the whims and energies of mass consciousness. Don't put your day in the hands of others. Create your own magnificent day. And I'm telling you guys, it's all about a positive mental attitude. It's how you think yourself. Now, let's talk about that Harvard business tip of the day. And the management tip today is define what a meaningful job means to you. You know, to build a career that you love, not just enjoy, figure out what matters most to you. Think through a day or a week at work. What made you most happy? What was most frustrating? Come up with a few hypotheses about what is most meaningful to you. I want a job where I create something that people can use every day. I want a job with enough flexibility so I can pick up my kids from school. I want a job where I'm directly interacting with people in need. Test your hypotheses. Convince your manager to let you work remotely for a month. Take on a new assignment that involves new skills, or sign up for a cross-company initiative. Look outside your company, too. Join industry groups, go to conferences, or volunteer. Find people who are doing what you think you want to do and ask them questions. I'm telling you, folks, the secret for today, both of these they're invaluable. You couldn't buy that information. Trust me. Live it, breathe it, walk it, talk it, do it. That's what it is. Now, it's time for those interesting but useless facts. First out, whiteout was invented by the mother of Mike Nesmith, formerly of the Monkees. Yeah, the band The Monkees. Did you know that in 1960, the ratio of the average Fortune 500 CEO's pay to the U.S. president's salary was 2 to 1? That was in 1960. Today, the ratio is around 30 to 1. Yeah, you heard me right, about 30 to 1. You know what? The president makes about $450,000 a year, and the average CEO makes about $12 million. Give that some thought, right? Did you know a cat has 32 muscles in each ear? I don't know. How about this? The bark of an older redwood tree is fireproof. Wow. Now, that's good to know, especially if you live in California up in the redwood area. You know, they are so magnificent and so beautiful, you'd never want them to burn down. To know that they're fireproof, that's pretty cool. Did you know that, of course, we don't want people testing that theory, right? Even though it's probably a fact. Anyway, you know, in India, people are legally allowed to marry a dog. I'm not even going to comment on that. Did you know that Pearl Jam's first album, Tin, was named in tribute of baseball player Mookie Blaylock, whose number is 10? That's a little interesting. You never know where some of these things come from. How about this? Did you know that in Arizona, you cannot drive past the same place more than 3 times in 1 hour? It's the law. Try this on for size. The revenue that is generated from gambling is more than the revenue that comes from movies, cruise ships, recorded music, theme parks, and spectator sports combined. Wow. You think Las Vegas isn't making money, right? Or Atlantic City, for that matter. Did you know that 55.2% of us will let someone else come in the bathroom while they're using the toilet? I'm not going to comment on that either. How about this? Dating back to the 1600s, thermometers were filled with brandy instead of mercury. Wow. What a waste of good liquid. Did you know that humans are the only animals that can blush? I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting. Or the percentage of Africa that is wilderness, 28% of the African continent is wilderness. And, you know, fleas can jump 130 times higher than their own height. A human terms this is equal to about a 6-foot person jumping 780 feet into the air. Now, there's something for you to think about. You know, he leaps off tall buildings with a single bound. And then finally, during his lifetime, Herman Melville's Moby Dick sold only 50 copies. Wow. Can you believe that? How interesting is that? Now, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to deal with the emails for today. First one comes from Taylor Duncan from Hattiesburg, Michigan. He's asking about head of household. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group, no mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:52 p.m. Pacific time. It is still 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, folks, I want to tell you, that's hot out there. We are coming down to the wire, and so it's time for our emails. I want to remind you that this is an entertainment section of the show, and the answers that we give you for the emails are really based on the data that you give us, and it's usually a little sketchy. So we always remind you to always contact a licensed professional in your area for them to give you the advice that you need to have before you take any action. They're going to interview you, they're going to gather data, they're going to make sure that they've got everything they need to give you a good comprehensive answer. And the nice thing is they carry errors and omissions insurance. That's part of their licensing program. They're responsible for those answers they give you. So if they give you the wrong answer, they're going to be liable for it, not you. That should help you sleep at night. Keep that in mind. That's always a good thing if you think about it. Now, my first email comes from Taylor Duncan from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, actually. I think I said Michigan before, but it's actually Mississippi, asking about head of household, and says, my daughter lives with me, and I've been filing as head of household. She's a full-time student, and I pay more than half her expenses, but she turned 24 during the past year, had $16,500 of income, and took an exemption for herself on her own tax return. Do I still qualify to file as head of household? Well, Taylor, the answer to your question is no. Your daughter no longer is a qualifying child because she was not under the age of 24 at the end of the year, and she's not any other kind of qualifying person because her income is over that personal exemption amount for last year. The fact that she claimed an exemption for herself on her own tax return also bars her from being a qualified person. So, if your daughter is the only person for whom you provide a household, you no longer qualify for head of household status, and you're now going to be in unfortunately a higher tax bracket. Now, next email comes from Lexi Froten from Bend, Oregon, asking about no salary for proprietorships, and writes, if I set up a sideline business as a proprietorship, can I set my salary from it at zero so that profits will build up in the business without my paying tax on them? Well, Lexi, the answer to your question is no. Proprietorship does not pay salary to its owner. Instead, all of its income is taxed to its owner, subject to both income tax and self-employment tax. However, setting up a qualified retirement plan for it may let you save all or much of the income tax-free. A solo 401k lets you save the first $15,500, $20,500 if you're over 50 years old, of business income plus 20% of net business income. Let me give you an example of that. Let's just say that you're 50 and your sideline business makes $25,000. You can save all of its income in a solo 401k. Now, there's an alternative to it. Setting up your new business as a corporation lets you set a salary for yourself, and this entails many complications, so you need to consult an expert before you do that. And we've talked about that before. Go to a licensed professional, not some sidewalk guy or some overnight fly-by-night guy. Go to a licensed professional. They're always going to save you more money than they cost you, trust me. Now, next email comes from Alexis Cagney from Port Allegheny, Pennsylvania, asking about joint liability, and writes, in past years, my husband hid income from the IRS, so I filed separately to avoid being liable for his taxes. Now, he's reporting all his income and wants to file joint returns with me. Will filing jointly with him now make me liable for his back taxes and penalties for those past years? Well, Alexis, no, that's not going to happen. Joint liability for your spouse's taxes applies only in years for which you file a joint return with your spouse. Now, filing a joint return after a period of filing separate returns does not retroactively create joint liability for the separate return years. However, before filing jointly, be absolutely sure your husband is not continuing to understate his income. IRS scrutiny of prior years may lead to the current return and ultimately include your items. Now, any overpayment might then be applied to back taxes. So you certainly want to be really, really careful in these particular cases. Now, my last email comes from Maya Griffin from Amarillo, Texas, asking about deductible medical expenses. And Maya writes, she says, my mother lives with me and I claim her as a dependent. Can I include her Medicare Part D premiums for her prescription drug benefit in my deductible medical expenses? Well, Maya, the answer to your question is yes. It's about time we got a yes in here. Medicare premiums paid under both Part B, which is outpatient insurance, and Part D, which is prescription drug benefits, qualify as deductible medical expenses. Now, normally, rules apply, so you can deduct the medical expenses of a dependent, and your deduction is limited to the amount by which your total medical expenses exceed 10% of your adjusted gross income. So keep that in mind. That's not all so easy to do. Keep in mind that, people who itemize their deductions, it's only about 25, 26% of the nation that actually itemize their deductions. So if you're not itemizing, none of this is going to do you any good. Now, I want to remind you that you need to talk to a licensed professional before you do anything. The information that I'm giving you, the answers I'm giving you, are based on sketchy information at best. You need to sit down and be interviewed by a licensed professional who's going to gather all of the data that's necessary to give you a good, total, comprehensive answer. They're going to help you sleep at night and make life much, much easier for you, I promise. Now, I want to thank you for listening to Robert Cardoza Live at the intersection of business and politics. Robert Cardoza Live broadcasts on Spreaker Radio, Blog Talk Radio, MyCast Live Radio, and countless terrestrial stations worldwide every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. I also broadcast on Roar 1776 Radio every Friday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube, where you can listen to all of my shows 24/7. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com and email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. That's where I get the emails I deal with here on the show. My next show, my expert contributor is going to be John Hanson, that little old wine drinker, talking about food and wine. My special guest, John Kurth, that wizard of words, is going to be talking about the syntax of success. I encourage you to tell all of your friends about my show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.
Don't forget to come back on Monday for another installment of Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. In the meantime, stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe, and good night, everybody.